Guru family, as you know, Israel did an unprovoked attack on Iran, and now Iran is defending itself. Now there is all this talk about nuclear weapons and so on and so forth. Let's listen to Sabi Sab's YouTube channel. She was interviewing Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter is an anti war activist. He is a former US Marine intelligence officer and a former UN weapons inspector. Let's listen.
And I think you're going to see the Russians and the Chinese starting to put markers on the ground. For instance, the Russians said, don't even think about regime change. Don't even think about, assassinating Ali Khamenei. And they also said, don't bomb the Bushehr reactor. We have hundreds of Russians there. And if you bomb it, it can become a disaster like Chernobyl. They're starting to create red lines for Israel inside. And I think you're going to see China doing the same thing. I don't see that Russia and China are going to go to war over Iran unless we use nuclear weapons. Now this becomes a different thing. Russians have told, American officials in the past, when Admiral Crowe was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they were briefing a military option to the President of the United States that had the United States leading off with tactical nuclear weapons. And Crowe stood up and said, if we do this, Mr. President, we open Pandora's box. And our intelligence suggests that, other nations that wouldn't use nuclear weapons initially, preemptively, because nobody wants to break the taboo since Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they will use nuclear weapons. Russia will use nuclear weapons. China will use nuclear weapons. India and Pakistan, we unleash this disaster. We can't be the first ones to do this. The Russians have said that if the United States uses tactical nuclear weapons against Iran, that it's very likely that if NATO and Europe continue to play stupid games in Ukraine, that Russia will use nuclear weapons against them, because Russia's not going to be the first to use nuclear weapons. But if the United States uses nuclear weapons, what does it say? It means that this policy of nuclear preemption is real. And Russia's not going to sit back and allow itself to be cowed by America, who now says, well, no, we showed you, we mean it, we'll use nuclear weapons. Russia's like, screw you. We'll just use them too. And once that happens, the world ends. The world ends. So this is a very, very dangerous situation right now.
Always remember that Israel is still doing a genocide in Gaza. Right now, they are using starvation as a method of war. And it's a war crime. People are going for aid right now, and they are killing them, which is a war crime. So always remember that. Never forget Gaza. Even though all this thing is going on right now with Iran, never forget that a genocide is going on right now in Gaza. It is being carried out by Israel.
Extraordinarily dangerous situation that Russia and China need to manage properly. And I think they're trying to, Putin's woken up about this, and I think Xi's woken up about it. And I believe there's a lot of communication taking place right now with the White House from both parties saying, if you think you have problems with us right now, if you move against Iran, it's over. I mean, Russia can't have good relations with a United States that uses nuclear weapons. Can't. It's impossible. And China can't have trade relations. And so they will seek to isolate the United States, and it's just going to get ugly. So anybody who thinks that Russia and China are just going to sit in the background, they're wrong. Russia tried to make a military agreement. Iran didn't want it, and there's nothing Russia can do. If Iran doesn't want it, Russia can't force that agreement on the Iranians. But the Russians are there for the Iranians, in other ways. And, there's been a series of flights coming in from China, big 747 cargo jets flying in from China to Iran. Curiously, the Israelis aren't doing anything to stop it, because I think the Chinese might have said, don't. But who knows what they're bringing? Could it be advanced military technology? Could it be who knows what they're bringing in, but the Chinese are in the process of doing something with the Iranians. So I don't think you're going to see Russia and China sitting this one out.
Oh, one more for you, Scott. I'm not as familiar. From Anika, Sabby, could you please ask Scott about the Israel-Samson option?
Before Scott answer this one, people, even a human like DJ Khaled, he is the offspring of Palestinian immigrant parents. He has never spoken up for Palestinian people. No matter how much money it costs, I don't know his reason, but it's so weird. I'm not sure how this human sleep at night. And now he's running around pretending to be Jamaican. Khalid, you are not welcomed in the Jamaican community. You are not. Because when there was apartheid in South Africa, Jamaican musicians always spoke up for South Africans. And it didn't matter how much it cost them. So let me tell you right now, Khalid, you are not welcome in the Jamaican community, and you are not like us, and you will never be like us. Because if Jamaica was being destroyed by another country, every Jamaican would speak up. I don't know which Jamaican, because of money, would keep their mouth shut. Every Jamaican would speak up. So remember, Khalid, no matter how we are friends with Vibes Cartel or Bounty Killer or Mavada, you will never be Jamaicans, and you are not like us. You will never be a Jamaican. You, Khalid.
Are you familiar with that, Scott?
Yeah, on my bookshelf behind me, I've got Seymour Hersh's book called The Samson Option. And Seymour Hersh wrote that book, I think in the 70s. And it describes, or maybe the early 80s, it describes, Israel's nuclear weapons program. The Samson Option is a thing of mythology. And what I mean by that is the Israelis have never acknowledged it. First of all, Israel has never acknowledged having a nuclear weapons program. They continue to have this plausible deniability aspect to it. But the Samson option is something that was suggested to Seymour Hersh. And what it is that Israel will, if they're facing existential destruction, I mean, it's over. Enemies across the barbed wire, Israel's going down. They will fire nuclear weapons against everybody and kill everybody. Like Samson brought down the temple, killed himself, but killed all the people in the temple. Israel will take everybody down with them. There's a problem with this scenario, though. And that is that Israel has an agreement with the United States that dates back to Richard Nixon and Golda Meir about their nuclear weapons program and how the program, what needs to transpire to use nuclear weapons, etc. And there's a whole protocol that has to be, followed. And people are like, well, Scott, it's just in writing and that's old and they will never do it. Well, again, guys, I've lived a long and interesting life. And I was around in 1991 when Israel began the protocol of using nuclear weapons. Part of the things you do in the protocol is that you will have demonstrations, that you'll make certain declarations that don't say you have nuclear weapons, but hint that they're there and all this. When Saddam was firing missiles into Israel during the Gulf War, the Israelis wanted to intervene. They were ready to send their military into Western Iraq, and we wouldn't let them because that would tear apart the coalition. But the missile still came in. So what Israel did is pulled their Jericho 2 missile out of its storage area, and they did a test flight of the Jericho 2. The Jericho 2 flew exactly the distance from Israel to Baghdad, but it flew instead to the Mediterranean. And it was a signal to the United States that if you don't stop this and the Iraqis put a chemical weapon on Israel, we're going to nuke Baghdad. It was a demonstration. It was part of the protocol that had been agreed to in the past. And the reason why I bring this up is that Israel is sort of bound by that. The scenario Israel faces right now with Iran is not a Samson option type scenario, meaning that, this would be Israel collapsing from within as opposed to people coming across the wire. So for Israel to use nuclear weapons, they have to follow the protocol, which gives the United States at any time the ability to veto this and stop it. So I'm not worried about the Samson option. I actually think the Samson option is a little bit of Israeli driven propaganda designed to intimidate the world, to create the perception of a mad nation willing to take everybody down, so don't mess with the Israelis. But the reality is, Israel is a nuclear power whose ability to use nuclear weapons is closely linked to the United States. And if Israel ever uses a nuclear weapon without the permission of the United States, Israel's in a world of hurt, because they will be outside the framework of everything we stand for when it comes to international law, and it will put the United States in a huge bind. I know a lot of people are like, well, we don't care about that, but it's the truth. I mean, this is why Israel has always been hesitant to admit having it, because they follow the agreement that had been hashed out in 1969 between Richard Nixon and Golda Meir.
Interesting.
Guru family, thanks for watching. Please leave your thoughts below. Thumbs up, subscribe, watch another video. Always want more, and make sure you are worth more. I will catch you in the next one.